Thank you very much. Good morning, I'm Dr. Alexis Chavez, and I'm honored to introduce Mr. DeJuan Patterson, who will open the symposium with the patient perspective to remind us all it is patients at the center of our work. Mr. Patterson is an advocate, public servant, and social impact consultant with the Bridge Advisory Group. As a Baltimore native, he has developed a passion for gun violence prevention, addressing social inequities, and community empowerment. He received both his bachelor's degree in psychology and his master's in public administration from Bowie State University. Mr. Patterson helps healthcare institutions and practitioners shift their research towards community relevant topics. Through this work, DeJuan has had opportunities to consult with various stakeholders from Baltimore City Hall to Capitol Hill, developing progressive solutions for socioeconomic equality and community mobility. Before DeJuan begins, I would like to make everyone aware. He will start with a 3-minute video. It includes sensitive content with language and violence some may find disturbing. Please be aware, viewer discretion advised. We will now hear Mr. Patterson's personal journey.
The night I became them to the police. It was a summer night going into 2005, my senior year of high school. Just like any other night, I was just leaving a long day of work from my summer job in East Baltimore. I stopped past a friend's house. I picked up one of the neighborhood bikes and I asked one of my homegirls, can I use her phone, listen to the ringtones? And started making my way to my aunt's house. And while on the bike, I was listening to ringtones and just enjoying myself, reciting the lyrics. And then I told myself, pay attention to your surroundings, so I put my phone down. I look up, and there's a gunman at my side. I knew that I had to give him what I had. So I gave him everything I had, and I looked back down, and I said, it's not mine. It's not my phone. He said, I don't care. Give me that too. I gave it to him, and that wasn't enough. So he told me, turn around. And that's when he pulled the trigger. My body went into shock and those things like that. And just with an ounce of strength left inside my body and a little bit of vision I had from this one eye, and I pick up and I'm wondering, looking for some help, saying someone can help me. And I get the strength to open up my eye just a little bit. And this time, I'm staring down the barrel of another gun. I was staring down the barrel of the police. And I can hear them yelling, get the f*** on the ground. I could hear my family and friends screaming, trying to defend me and speak for me. Because here I am with a hole in my head, leaking. What's your name? Get the f*** on the ground. And even inside my moment of being a victim, I'm criminalized. Well, good morning, everyone. I'll say let's take a moment to take a deep breath. I know that content is a lot. It's even a lot for me to continue to
watch it or share it. However, I would say my patient engagement journey begun 15 years ago with that single incident, and it's the center of my universe to this day. And reason being, I had to leave from the hospital with no sense of understanding of how to recover from a head injury such as a gunshot wound, that I am now my biggest patient advocate, champion, doctor, medical profession at 17 years old, leading my family. I am at the current moment the highest education achievement than anybody inside my household. So here I am going into my senior year in high school, having to champion my own healthcare recovery. And from that experience, it led me down the path of wanting to understand why and how can I help more people who may experience similar incidents of disempowerment, disenfranchised, to the place, from the place where you can go from a victim to an advocate and later become an advisor for more people who feel voiceless, discouraged, and disheartened. From that experience, I went off to start to establish my own voice and agency. And that's where I went off to college and understood the importance of what contributes to youth violence and aggression. Partnered up with local school systems from Baltimore City Public Schools, Prince George's County Public Schools, that later shifted my agency of understanding what happens internally with individual factors, what contribute to some of these factors, and how to make a recovery. From that opportunity, work with mental health agencies. And from there, we started to see how you can shape as an individual your healthcare recovery. And at this point, it's mental health. Some of the best practices I learned from working with the school system and the mental health agencies was you got to meet people where they are. Having that level of direct service, understanding, it helps you to understand the language and lens, which is really, really important because not everybody shares the same life experience. And if you take the time to active listening, then you will begin to start to see how, if you have a similar situation or experience, to authentically connect with your target population and how you can allow that to help build trust and rapport over time. Because that is real important. That is really important when you have certain experiences and feeling alone. So having a level of importance of meeting people where they are, understanding that the language barriers is not only a physical locality of meeting people where they are, but psychologically understanding that sometimes you may not be the best person to understand or translate the language. And that may be somebody else on your team or inside your agency. My next path was moving from being an advocate to an advisor. Those experiences could be entailed with working with healthcare agencies, designing communication strategies, marketing, research ideas was really pivotal. And this is where we noticed that healthcare institutions and practitioners, they want to do good. And not everybody know the proper approach to reaching you and delivering those set outcomes. So including patients at every facet of the process is really important. So with these healthcare institutions, we are allowed to shape and shift healthcare issues that's more relevant to the patients. And as a result, you see authentic patient engagement, longevity and retention, and successful outcomes. My next one will be working with government institutes. My experience had catapulted me from Capitol Hill to the mayor's office in Baltimore City. How can they establish mutually understanding and bi-directional relationships? We all have our goals as institutions and agencies. However, we have to see how can this be beneficial to some people. See them just as subjects, but I would say as partners. You have to see your partner as an equal voice inside your development. And from my experiences of working from a victim to advocate to an advisor, I help to empower patients at every step of the way in communities who feel disempowered and voiceless. Lastly, working with foundations and grant makers to understand that the patient is a partner and they should be fairly compensated for the social and intellectual capital that they are contributing to set research, development of products, and lastly, their healthcare outcomes. So I would conclude with that and let us all know that we can be more together and accomplish even greater things together. And I will close with that. I am DeJuan Patterson. Thank you.
DeJuan, what a truly, truly remarkable story. Thank you so much for such an inspiring and powerful experience that you're willing to share with us, and all of your advice for us as well. I think that I really speak for everyone when I say that I learned a lot just listening to even a few minutes of hearing you talk to us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully the story moves you from emotions to action and inclusion. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Alexis, thank you very much. DeJuan Patterson, you are the hero of the day. Some words that I heard just before we move on, words that are so important for the work we're doing: engage, listen, team, advocate to advisor, partnership, partner, pay people for their time. Hopefully we'll come back to some of this. DeJuan, thank you so much for offering a perspective that is the important perspective when we're studying and looking at the science of patient engagement.
Thank you for having me.